Today we're going to talk about the 5 levels of a CEO. My name is Michael Barayev and I built a team of 150 plus sales guys. We did that in less than 2.5 years and we did that with zero money invested. Now, if you're a CEO, a sales leader, a business owner, an entrepreneur, whatever it is, at the end of the day, there's different suits you have to wear. At the end of the day, CEOs don't just sit there and just wait for money to come in. You might be thinking, what do CEOs do all the time? Like, what are they doing? Well, there's a lot of things they have to implement to make the company grow from point A to point B, but there's a lot of things they can do that can waste their time. And I got this information from an amazing book called Great CEOs Are Lazy. Now, you might say, Michael, aren't CEOs supposed to be hustling, punching, doing what they got to do? Yes, that is true, but you have to know what role you have to be playing in. And we're going to go over those roles today. So as a CEO, okay, you may fall into the category of being a player. Okay, now what does that mean? A player is someone that's playing in the field. For example, in the sales industry, as a CEO, I was still in the beginning stages of my business. I was knocking on doors. I was banging on phone calls. I was getting more customers. I was getting sales into the company because I was teaching my guys how to do what needed to get done. So I was a player and I had the other duties and responsibilities when it comes to financing and marketing and all the other stuff. So you can imagine my days were filled up with 10, 12, 14-hour days, sometimes even 16-hour days where I used to fall asleep on the table in my office in the beginning days. Now, the reason why I did that was because you have to be a player in the game to understand what's going on. What are the pluses? What are the minuses? How can I change this? How can I change that? Because as a player, you see everything that needs to happen in the business. Because as you're creating that revenue stream, right? Not only is it helping your business with cash flow, it's also teaching you, wow, we need to implement this process. We need to implement this step. We need to do this. We need to do that, which puts you in the stage of a learner, right? You're always learning, okay, about what's going on. Now, when you get out of the stage of the player mode, now you can sit back, look at the drawing board and say, okay, what do I need to do to learn about this industry, to learn about this process, to learn about this game, whatever it may be. So in the learner stage, now by the way, you're always learning, but in the learner stage as a CEO, what you're doing is you're constantly learning new things through failures and through other people's failures and mistakes and other people's experiences, right? How can I get this trend to start moving up? Like you start looking at your business in a learning way, like a student. You study your business, you study your game, you study the trends. In this stage, you have a lot of data that is shown to you. Like for example, I see a lot of my appointment setters, my sales guys, I see all the data. I want to know how many appointments has this guy set? What is the average appointment set date? How far do they set it away from? Like who's doing this, who's doing that? That information is extremely important because I'm learning about my business, okay? The third stage is the architect stage. Now in this stage, after playing the game, after learning what you needed to learn, you're now, I don't want to say building, but you're designing systems, processes, certain procedures, certain SOPs. You're building the business out and structuring it to support the teams, to support the department, to support the business. In the architectural stage, you could be there for days, weeks, months, and even years sometimes because you're just designing it, right? You're just designing the process. You're putting the outline. You're putting the foundation into play. Now, number 4 is the engineer. Now, as the engineer, you're now building it out. Now you're investing time and probably hours in a day, hours in a week, literally engineering and building it out. So the architect stage is when you're designing it and kind of having the map. And the engineer stage is when you're actually building it and you're putting in a lot of hours. I promise you, this is the engineering part is the most crucial one out of all of them, in my opinion, when it comes to building out your business, because there's a lot of time that goes into this. A lot. You're going to be tired. There's going to be sleepless nights. So many hours have to go into this because you're engineering and building out the business. Okay? Now remember, you can't be in all areas at the same time. It's very difficult. But in the beginning, you may have to wear a bunch of those hats, right? Because you have to be playing in the game. You have to be learning every single step of the process. You got to be the architect and designing everything after work hours and engineering it maybe in the middle of the night and working with your team because you may not have the right funding, you may not have the right cash flow, whatever it may be. You got to figure it out, right? And the last level is the 5, is the coaching level, where you're developing your leaders, you're developing your people on your team. And by the way, out of all of these, in my opinion, this takes the most mental exhaustion in the planet. This will mentally dry you out because it's a lot of thinking and training and investing and listening to your people and helping them become better. Okay, now by the way, you may say, Michael, this is a lot of stuff. Exactly, that's why most people don't make it as a CEO. That's why being a CEO is not just sitting behind a desk collecting a paycheck. You gotta do a lot of work. You gotta go out there hunting, you gotta go out there playing, you gotta go out there learning, you gotta go designing and building and coaching other people to become better. And that's why CEOs, when you see a CEO of United Airlines, you see a CEO of, a Burger King or whatever, you see them making millions of dollars a year. There's a reason for that. Because this is a skill. This is a skill. Now, as CEO of Burger King, they may not be the player, but I remember John Ledger, T-Mobile CEO back in the day, a couple years ago. How did T-Mobile become so amazing? If you look at the study and study T-Mobile, the reason why they became so amazing was because of John Ledger. He literally was going to every single T-Mobile store and literally asked questions to the customers as if he was just a secret shopper. And he got so much intel. He asked the customer, what would make T-Mobile amazing? Like, what would make your experience of buying cell phones amazing? And people said, no contracts, unlimited minutes, unlimited this, unlimited that. And they became the Un-carrier because of that. T-Mobile exploded because the John Ledger had this mindset. He went in there to play. He went in there into the weeds and didn't say, oh, my ego, my this, my that. The other day, as an example, I went into the field with some of my guys just to see what's going on. One day, didn't do anything crazy. But that motivated the team, and it also motivated me because I'm like, holy shit, we need to implement this, we need to change this, we need to remove that, we need to do this, we need to do that. So as a player, you got to go all in. And don't let your ego, oh my God, I'm a CEO or I'm a leader, don't let that get to your head. You have to be the player sometimes. Not forever, temporarily, to see what's going on. Number 2, learn, educate, understand the business, design, build, and then train and coach your people. If you follow these 5 steps, if you follow these 5 hats and understand where you're at in your business, I promise you, your business will exponentially grow and you will not have to worry about going up and down because you know exactly what you need to do as a CEO. So I appreciate you. Do me a favor, show some likes, show some comments, subscribe to the channel if you haven't so already, and share this with a friend. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video.